thanks for tuning in to another episode of Hawk Talk. I have in here with me today a young author here in North Dakota, from North Dakota, Lindsay, hopefully I pronounced this right, Undlin?
Yep.
Okay, awesome. So, Lindsay, thank you so much for coming in and talking with us today. Thanks for sharing all that information with our students earlier today, but we'll get into that just a little bit. So, we're going to get right into it, and we'll just start asking you questions and go deep on it. So, first thing, who is Lindsay? We're going to talk about that for a little bit. So originally, where are you from?
So I'm from small town, Mulhall. I go to school in Mulhall.
Where's that by?
It's about maybe an hour from Minot. Then I live on a farm about 20 minutes from Mulhall, and then about 30 minutes from the Minot Air Force Base. So.
Okay. Gotcha. So you're kind of up in that northern region up there. So I'm guessing winters get extra cold, I'm assuming.
Oh, yeah. There's still snow up there.
Oh, my gosh. Okay. So you guys are super cold up there. So Lindsay is a young author who started writing when she was 13?
13, yep.
Correct? Holy cow. And you published your first book when?
14, and I was March of 2022.
Holy cow. So it's, and you are almost 18 now,
yep.
Correct? So it's been busy ever since then.
Oh, yeah.
And Lindsay came down and talked with some of our students about her book, what it's like to be a young author, what it took, what she's gone through, the things she likes, the things she didn't like. So what were all the things that you guys did today? I know you did some questions with the kids. I was there in the gym. You gave some presentations, but what else did we do?
So just a few minutes ago, I got out of doing, I think it was just a small discussion with a few smaller groups. I think it was 7th through 9th maybe, and then the rest of a small group of older high schoolers. Okay. That was just open discussion. I didn't really do my speech much, but in the morning I gave my whole spiel on what to do, what I did, how I did that, and yeah. So then that opened to questions.
So it was a lot about just kind of like the entire experience of being that young author and like how you got there and hopefully inspiring other students to go towards their passions. So with everything that you shared with the students today, not only in the gym, because we did the presentation and the book signing and the talk, and they also did the stuff in the library, what are you hoping that they take away from today?
I'm hoping that they take away that they can do it too. They can follow their dreams, and, I always say hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. So it's basically just show that they can do it too. But
trying to be evidence and proof like, hey, no, this is possible. You can do it too.
Yeah, and that there's also ups and downs, and I'm pretty open about ups and downs. So
yeah, and we're definitely going to talk about that here. So going back to, I want to go all the way back to when you were 13. So just one day you were just like, I'm going to write a book. Like what happened? How did that happen?
So when I was younger, I started writing the book right after quarantine, so I didn't really do much. That would have been I had quarantine in 6th grade, after Christmas, 6th grade, and I didn't really have contact with much of my friends, so I kind of got out of touch with my friends, so I was pretty, on my own for a lot of the time. So I began to create characters that I could relate to, especially from travel basketball, since I love basketball so much. So.
And that's another thing too, to kind of pause that. I mean, I think, isn't your whole family like really big into sports? Like you guys are. So if I'm correct, like, don't you have like some brothers who are really big into basketball? What's the whole deal with that? So my family, the Undlins, are, they're huge Norwegians. Nice. I have a few cousins that are, I have a cousin that's 6'8". I have a cousin that's 6'6", and all that. So yeah, all my family is sports. I think I may be the only Undlin who wasn't, stick through with basketball. Gotcha. You just took a different direction.
Yeah,
it's still all about basketball.
It's still all about basketball, but I took a different direction rather than playing it. I write about it. But yeah, not much.
Awesome. So like going back to like you writing, so you decided you wanted to make characters. That was kind of filling that void during that COVID time, that really challenging time. So that evolved into writing short stories, or like how did that all of a sudden just become a book? So
I guess since I was younger, I've always written novels. When I was, I think when I was a fourth and fifth grader, I wrote a few 100-page novels. handwritten.
Oh,
And
wow. Okay, so some real manual labor there.
yeah, so
Yeah.
I've always, kind of written books, but I didn't have a laptop at the time. So when I bought my first laptop myself when I was a sixth grader, I began writing on that, and I found Microsoft Word, and I figured out, hey, I can like write a bunch on Microsoft Word. So yeah, I never really wrote short stories. It's always been these huge novels.
It just keeps building and getting
Yeah,
bigger and bigger.
building
and
on
bigger.
itself. Yeah.
So like when you're writing these stories, are you how do I say, like when you're building these, do you have like a whole archive of all your old stories that possibly haven't been released? Like, do we have a massive archive? Because you said Microsoft Word, so I have a hunch you didn't delete those, or possibly have a couple.
I do still have them. I have one. These books, the ones that I wrote on Microsoft Word, probably only got like maybe 10 chapters in until I, found what I actually. Well, no, I think one was during when I was writing my first book, and then I think another was before that. But yeah, it's all about sports. So I do still have them, and I still have the books that I wrote handwritten.
Very, very cool. Yeah, and the handwritten stuff, that's a lot of manual work. Like,
oh yeah, I couldn't do that. I don't know how my 12-year-old self managed to do that. I can do it now.
It was the drive. It was the excitement.
Oh yeah,
absolutely. So, you obviously, all of this is all about basketball. I mean, that's the thing that ties us together, but you always have been putting a twist on it. From what I understand in the little bit of the books that I've read is that, yes, you have the basketball element, but there's always this twist. Now, without doing any kind of spoilers or anything like that, for people to understand, you've written published two books officially, and there's a third one that's on the way. Without spoiling too much, what's kind of the backstory of book 1 and book 2? Why don't we go through this? And you actually have those right here. So if you want to show people what you have,
so
you can just hold it up to that camera right there.
So Stolen is more of a drama. It's setting up everything. It's setting up the town. It's setting up the people in this town. Yeah, it's kind of setting up like the drama and all that, like what we're facing, the towns that we're facing. Not much there. It kind of deals with high school drama and all that. Like on sports, it shows you like how dramatic this is going to be. And then the second book, I like to describe it as the best. What I describe it as it's the best player can get away with murder, but literally.
Oh wow!
So,
and that one's called Spiral. Correct?
Yep.
Okay, so now essentially, like Stolen, your first one, the yellow one, that one's much more the bedrock, and the Spiral is where we really get into the meat and potatoes.
Yeah.
But the only way you can really enjoy that is if you have that bedrock first. So it's great to start, I'm assuming, with Stolen.
I mean, yeah, I wrote it in the way that you can understand any of my books without reading any of them first.
So they're connected, but yet can be independent.
Yeah, they're all kind of they're not their own stories, but you can jump in at any point in these guys' life and understand it.
How hard is that to do when you write? Do you have to do a lot of thinking ahead, or is it just wording?
That's a good question. Mostly what I do is I kind of have like a few, how do I describe this? It's their dialogue in the beginning mostly. Sometimes it'll go over like what happened last year. Of course, not info dumping, but
No, go.
just kind of describes like how their last year was with the wording that I do. With their dialogue.
Like synopsises and stuff to get people caught up to snuff, essentially. So you do a lot of callbacks in case if they haven't. Okay. Now, from when we did the speech in the gym, when you were doing the presentation to the kiddos, one of the kids asked which book is your favorite book. So far, it's Spiral, correct? Is that just because there's that heavy twist on it? And now, can we tell people just ballpark of what that one's essentially about? It's a murder mystery. We can tell
it's
them that a little bit.
Murder mystery. The basis is that Callie and Ray, my main characters, they get put to, a higher team, and they're on the B team now, and they learn that one of the varsity players are, getting murdered because someone's, jealous and all that, someone wants to take their spot, and then they, have to figure all that out if that, answers.
Okay, so then to figure out the rest of it, you gotta go get that book.
Yeah.
So we're gonna kind of dial back to some of our questions here really quick. So we've talked a little bit, why you're here, also to your books and kind of how they're made a little bit, but we're gonna dive a little bit deeper. So, any interesting questions that you've had today since you've been doing the presentations or anything like that?
Nothing, pretty basic for high school kids. Like, not very. I mean, of course, I don't want to say But yeah.
I think I heard, are you a dog person or a cat person? Those were funny.
Yeah. Stuff like that, that's pretty normal for.
Absolutely. Some of the other ones that I was really excited to hear was, how do you get started? Because I know some of the kids who are asking that are also currently writing right now. And it's really cool to hear them being like, all right, what do I got to do? Because they're like, hey, it's possible. All right. So they did it. How can I do it?
Yeah.
So, well, awesome. Also too, with that being the case, what advice would you give those young writers?
See, it depends on how you write. Like, I write with very little notes on what I want to do. I mean, I have the big climaxes planned out, but I go in and fill in the blanks. So my advice would be, of course, I love, writing with the notes, but for me personally, I like writing with everything planned out, but like the big climax, like I've said.
No. So you kind of start at the end almost.
Yeah,
in a sense, you're like, well, I know this is going to happen at the end, and then
so
I
build
work
up
my way to it.
Yeah, I just have little plot points that I want to hit, and then with those little bigger plot points, I put them together. So that's how I write. It just kind of depends on what you enjoy. Like with the first book, I wrote like go with the flow, and I didn't like that because it kind of turned out a mess. And then the second book was way too planned out. It was very constricting for me, which I didn't enjoy. So now I'm experimenting with both in the third book, and that's like my favorite.
Now, what's the new book going to be called?
Split.
Gotcha. And you're hoping to get that one done this year, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully.
Gotcha. So let's move on a little bit more. So moving into you as an author, obviously these stories take place in North Dakota. How else has North Dakota influenced your books other than just location? How else has North Dakota influenced your writing in the settings of these books, where things are taking place?
That's a good question. 'Cause I mostly, some stuff, of course, with weather and all that, it's very descriptive. Of course, the towns are very North Dakotan.
Okay. Very
they're
quiet,
not,
I'm assuming.
Yeah, they're not huge towns. I mean, of course, Swallows Village, the main town, is, a bigger town. It's not Minot size, but it's maybe like, maybe a quarter, no, not quarter, maybe like 3/4 of Minot. But it's a fairly small town with, one high school. So that's how small it is.
Gotcha. Everybody knows everybody.
Yep.
Gotcha. So it's one of those. So it kind of tells that, and that sets your scene, I'm sure, quite quickly because you've lived that. We all know that. We can all relate with that.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So moving forward, we've talked about, the backstory between Spiral and Stolen. Stolen is set in a small town where basketball is everything. It's the central of basketball in the story. So what drew you to writing about sports as the backdrop or mystery? Is it seriously just your family's background in sports, or like what's your personal interest with basketball? Why? Basically?
I just really love basketball. It's one of my biggest hyperfixations, to be honest. I just love women's basketball, especially. I'm a huge women's college basketball fan. I've never been really a fan of men's basketball. It's just how women's basketball is played. That's really my enjoyment from it. You can get a lot more drama and description from women's basketball than you could with men's, because men's is kind of more, brute and
Well,
what I mean.
There's more story to work with, because you're seeing like, yes, there's the basketball element, but there's this other part that allows me to pull from that and create really interesting content.
Yeah, especially lots of drama, especially with especially with my what I've been through. So.
Absolutely. So you've had personal experiences that, help shape you as an author, essentially. Gotcha. So we'll go into our next section here. So Spiral takes a darker turn with a murder mystery. How do you approach building that kind of suspense? Because murder and suspense, they're one and the same. They need to be together. How did you approach building that suspense?
So what I did was I had it, I didn't really exactly build suspense. I kind of did it randomly. You know what I mean? So it was kind of like they thought they were kind of living a more normal life after what happened in the first book, and then it's, suddenly happened, and then they're thrown into this new
more
normal. Yeah.
Okay. So then, without giving any spoilers away, what can we expect from Split moving forward? And if you can't give things away, I get it. I respect that.
Let me think about that. So Split is based off of more like a company, kind of like how do I explain this?
No, you're good.
With companies, it's like a company that
Like corporations kind of a thing?
company that helps athletes get, fame. But they're kind of, not exactly doing that. They're just kind of taking advantage of them.
Gotcha. So things are building a little bit bigger. And then I'm assuming your main athlete is probably a little bit older now at this point, moving forward. Okay, fantastic. So, moving into the general theme of your novels, kind of murder, mystery kind of a thing. A lot of the things you deal with are like grief and trust, fear. Why is that important in a young adult novel? Like, why did you choose those, or was it just general interest?
I mean, it was general interest for me, but I think it was a reflection of, kind of how I felt during those times when I was writing it, if that answers.
Oh yeah, you were in the middle of COVID at that
Yeah.
point. Yeah.
Pretty much middle of COVID. I was still rebuilding friendships with the traveling basketball, with my friends that I had at school, all that kind of stuff. So all that, what I was going through in school basketball up until when I quit basketball. So that answers.
Well, that's an interesting question. We kind of have to ask that. So you're obviously not in basketball anymore. I'm assuming part of it is because of the writing. You're so busy. You're traveling. You're touring. Actually, let's pause really quick. Mention some of the things that you've done just because of these books, because you've traveled very far. You've done, what were they called? Book festivals, correct? Talk about that.
So mostly I stay around the Minot area. But I've been with my publisher, I've been to Chicago, Nashville, Arizona, and DC, which is, DC wasn't my publisher. That was the Great Reads Library thing, which is why I'm here. And I got shouted out by the, shouted out by the Library of Congress woman.
Wow.
So yeah, she knows who I am. Didn't get a picture with her, but she was very nice to me. So.
Very, very cool. So you've had a lot of different opportunities just because of these books. And this has happened within the last, would you say, what is this, 4 years now?
Yeah, 3,
4 years. So it's been a very busy 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
My goodness. So let's talk about your writing process. What does your writing process look like? And I know that we've talked about how you know your end points and you fill in the gaps, but do you have like a specific routine of how you write? Are you like the person where I know there's like the Stephen King style where you write a certain amount a day, and then there's other types who just kind of write whenever they feel like it. What's your style?
I write probably now about maybe one page every day that I have off. Okay. That's just because of motivation. I'm also, doing college classes. So, when I get out of school, when I was younger, school was a lot easier, but now I'm in college classes. So I don't have as much motivation as I used to. But, I was going to say, but yeah.
Are you kind of like I need to get an hour in a day kind of a person?
Yeah. If I don't write at all, I kind of get like I need,
like I didn't meet that.
I didn't meet that quota.
Speaking of that, when we were doing the presentation, a person said, how did you feel when you finished your book? And it was really interesting when you said, I felt relief, a weight off of my shoulders. Talk more about that. That's really interesting.
So, as I've said, I think I've found more characters that stories that I enjoy more. I mean, as I've aged, I've kind of gotten out of my genre. I don't enjoy much murder mystery as I used to.
And you've explored it so hard.
I've explored a lot more, especially with the newer friends that I have. I've been able to create more stories. I don't have to just feel like I'm stuck to just one series.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I mean, I still enjoy writing these books, but I've been stuck with these characters for maybe about 5 years with these same characters. Of course, they feel like my family. But also
they probably feel as real as your only family members,
Yeah, but as I'm writing, I've been 2 years into this book that I'm writing now, so when I finish it, I will feel a bunch of relief once I'm done with it, and then when I'm done with the fourth, I'm sure I'll be very relieved as I can finally relax and write what I want.
Absolutely. I suppose you feel kind of locked in on this a little bit.
Which, I mean, isn't bad. Of course, this series has given me a lot of opportunities.
Oh, yeah.
But, working with one thing for 5 years is probably not the best for you.
Yeah, you feel like you've explored every little nook and cranny and there's no more. Yeah. I suppose it's kind of like a well. If you keep taking water out of the well and you don't give it time to refill, it's really hard to pull water out of it. Yeah. Gotcha. So is that a thing where does that add extra stress when people are like, when's the new book out? Do people get really stressed out? Well, I'm sorry for asking.
No. It's okay. But, Yeah. I mean, I've taken more time. Of course, I don't really, when people ask me, I just kind of give a ballpark. It'll be done when it's done.
Which is better because that allows you flexibility.
Yeah. I don't have deadlines. I kind of write when my publisher understands that I'm a, high school girl. I'm busy.
Yeah.
But
very, very busy. If you're taking college classes and stuff.
I take 2 or 3 college classes in high school, so
you're
I'm very busy.
You do
yeah, I want to be done with college as soon as I can.
This is the best transition ever. I have to ask this next question. How do you balance writing with school sports and other activities? How do you handle this workload? Because if I'm correct, were you still writing when you were in sports too? So how did you handle that across these 3 years?
So when I was in sports, I would, of course, have, tournaments on the weekend. I would get super stressed out at meets because I wouldn't meet that quota. I'm a very disciplined person, or I used to be. I'm not so much anymore because, I've kind of allowed myself to breathe.
Yeah.
But when I was younger, I'd get super stressed, and then I'd write more next weekend. So I just build more and more onto myself. And then once I dropped out of sports, I'm unemployed in school year. So I have free weekends unless I have college work to do. So if I don't write one page, I just write, I pack that on to the next day, and then now I've kind of, if I don't write, I'm more fine with, not writing because I know I'll get it done eventually.
Yeah. But, eventually, no matter what, you'll get that in.
Yeah.
It's just
I mean, I don't, a lot of the things was, I was stressed about getting it done before high school ended, but now I'm because I kind of felt like I'm this high school author and I need to have it done before I'm out of high school.
It needs to fit the theme, the concept. I get you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But now I'm, chill. I don't really care if I finish it when I'm out of high school or not.
This is actually a great question on top of that. So, I mean, you balance it, but it really sounds like it's still a lot of go. So do you allow yourself to say, you know what, today I'm going to take a break. I'm going to rest. I'm not going to write today. I'm not going to do schoolwork today. I'm going to be an 18-year-old kid.
Yeah, I've done that a lot.
Good.
I mostly just, stay home, draw. I don't go out much, but I do, play a lot of Steam games on my computer.
Oh, nice.
I'm a huge gamer, so that's what I do on my weekends off and when I'm not writing.
Very, very nice. Okay, so you find outlets. You have alternative outlets, but you have a very strong drive, which propels you forward in taking on a lot of tasks, a lot of challenges. So, final thing, I'm going to ask you the same question that you were asked in the gym. You've practiced writing since you were 13 aggressively. I mean, obviously you did it prior to, but I mean, you really hammered hard from 13 till obviously now and moving into the future. Do you feel like that gave you an opportunity to get better at getting articulate, expressing your thoughts and your ideas? And how has that impacted your life? And how do you feel like that's going to impact your adult life?
During quarantine, I was, I had friends, but I was alone. I got very socially anxious at the time. So when I began writing, and when I was asked to speak at NDSU for the first time, that kind of began to break me out of my shell with speaking to people. I would before 6th grade, I wouldn't even order my own food.
Oh, gotcha. You wouldn't even do the phone call.
Yeah, I couldn't even my 6th grade self seeing me do this now. I would probably be shaking. I'd have to take something before this.
Absolutely. Something to calm you down.
Yeah.
So do you feel like that skill that you've learned was a lot of just going in, getting your hands dirty, exposing yourself to that thing that makes you feel uncomfortable?
Yeah, it was a lot of forcing myself to, not forcing myself, but, pushing myself to do this. And, it's definitely broken me out of my shell. I don't have to, it's helped me talk to so many more people. I'm an extrovert now. I used to be an introvert, but now I'm more of, I'm still both, but I can, talk to people. I can go to parties. I can talk to anybody.
That's wonderful. All right. So one final question we're going to throw in here is, if you could give one piece of advice to your younger self before publishing your first 2 books, what would it be? And why don't we just have it that?
It would probably be just let myself breathe a little bit. When I was writing those first 2 books, I would just stay indoors and not do anything. I would be so stressed about not meeting that quota. So it would just be kind of just to let myself breathe.
It's okay. You'll get it done eventually.
Yeah, I'll get it done. If it's 4 years from now or 3 years from now, I'll get it done.
So having faith in your ability to persevere.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, fantastic. Well, before we go, is there anything else that you'd like to share?
No, I guess I'll say where you can order my books from. You can get them on Amazon. Yeah, I mean, around here, that's probably basically it where you can get them.
Absolutely. So, and what we'll do is I'll throw up a graphic right here. You can see the cover of both books.
Yep.
And we'll put the link to that Amazon purchase in the description of this YouTube video so people will be able to click on that. And thank you very much for tuning into this episode. And thank you very much, Lindsay, for doing this podcast with us. And then also, too, if you enjoyed this podcast, please give it a like and please subscribe to our YouTube channel, or you can listen to our podcast anywhere that you listen to our podcasts, and have a great